Welcome to Revline Racing's official podcast. Revline Racing is a professional simulated racing team focused on being as competitive as possible on iRacing. Primarily competing in the Nascar iRacing series, Revline accomplished 29 wins, 15 pole awards, 83 top fives, and 5,248 laps led in the 2022 season. Hosted by Locke and Ryan Crofut, our podcast will allow listeners to hear firsthand how we perform week to week, what plans we have for the coming week, and the opportunity to get to know our drivers through guest appearances. Thank you for listening. Enjoy. Welcome to the first ever Revline Racing Podcast. I am Evan Locke, Revline's media manager, as well as one of your podcast hosts. And with me is my co-host and good friend, Ryan Crofut, who is the owner and leader of Revline. And tonight we're also going to have a special guest a little later on in the show with one of our new drivers, Nick Crawford. Ryan, let's kick things off. We had a very successful week last week at Phoenix in the NASCAR iRacing series.
Yeah, we did. So we had a great week. 3 wins, 2 second places, a couple hundred laps led. Overall, we did really well this last week. Really looking forward to next week. I'm excited for it. We have some great momentum built coming off of Phoenix, and hopefully we can carry that over to Atlanta. Phoenix was a pretty technical track. A lot of braking zones. You had to be really cautious getting into the throttle coming off of 2, but it was really important that you had a really good exit to carry you down the straightaways. Had to be careful on the front stretch when you cut down on the apron and through the dog leg. Make sure you didn't have too much throttle input when you hit those lines and spin out when you're on those old tires. But we didn't have very much practice. Week 13 shut down, so no practice races for the week. And on top of that, we had a new tire model that we had to rebuild our setup for. So we spent a couple extra days building the setup that we shouldn't have had to do. We already had it built and ready to go, but the tire model kind of messed that up for us.
Yeah, we had what I would consider to be a good short run setup, but a fantastic long run setup. And earlier in the week, it looked like tire wear was going to be a bigger factor than it was. And then with the new tire model, it seemed like that didn't become as much of an issue. And then there was a lot of caution-filled races. But it seemed like things worked out throughout the end of the races, and we all ended up with good long green flag runs, and our long race setup really kicked into high gear. I know myself, I was not anywhere near the front with about 40 to go, and the car really just turned on over those last 40 laps and came to life. And so really a testament to the setup that Schmitz had built with that thought process in mind. It was a really, really good long run car.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Schmitz. He's every week he's putting together solid sets for us. And if we're struggling, he's helping us. What to adjust, tire pressures, perch offsets, all the different things we can do. Like this week with the rear end gear at Atlanta. But you look at our stats, from Phoenix. And you look at our polls, everybody qualified in the top 10 for the most part. We have the exception of Canada. I'm going to assume that probably was intent, 34th. But, overall, everybody qualified in the top 10. And then you look at the race and, a lot of first place. You look at yourself with a win and Kyle Tate with a win. Sean Rogers second. Christopher Norris second, one of our new drivers here at Revline. Seeing great stuff out of him already. Really excited to see what he has to bring to the table here coming to Atlanta and in future weeks. But overall had a really good week. I ended up in 7th with a damaged car. I had like a minute and a half of repairs, and if I didn't have that damage, I'm very confident I could have pulled off a win or at least contended for the win. So how was your win? What was your thought process, any strategy come into place, or was it purely just running them down with a good long run set?
Yeah, I was actually, I was a little frustrated early in the night. I felt like when I got back in traffic, I was struggling. People were being very aggressive. There was a lot of caution, so it was a slow, tedious race. a bit of a mental workout in a lot of ways because it was really easy to just get frustrated and want to push too hard and things like that. But I knew that our setup was a medium to long run set, and thankfully it worked out that when the last caution came out, still had a set of tires, as did most of us. It wasn't like I was playing some miracle pit strategy or anything. But came out, lost a couple spots on pit road, just being a little too cautious. And the way the pit road is there, a lot of guys run through the pit boxes and gain quite a bit of time because it turns around coming towards the exit. And so lost a couple spots on pit road there and got back a little bit further. But put me just in a place where I could get back to the lead and got there with a few laps left to go, took the lead, and then had to hold off two really strong cars near the end and made it work. Had a teammate jump in the spotter booth for me and kind of coach me through it, which is one thing I love about this team, man. We really have a good job of guys that are willing to jump in the spot and keep morale up and keep your mind focused. You know, sometimes it's really hard to keep in your mindset, I got to save tires right now, or you know, these
Yeah.
first 15 laps aren't going to win me the race, but they can lose me the race. And
Right.
so it's really good to have someone jump in that booth and just be a calming voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to have somebody that is not in that nervous mindset, you know, because regardless of where you're running on the track, there is some sort of nerves there, whether it's excitement or caution or whatever the case. But it's nice having somebody that's not in the race being able to sit there and watch and has no nervous input towards what you're doing on the track. He can just sit there and walk you through, and keep your head cool down,
Yeah, and you know, if you're talking about nerves, like Phoenix, other than coming through the dog leg, where guys seem to put their car wherever, um, not overly nerve wracking, right? It's pretty straightforward. You know, you have a specific line you want to run. But if we're going to talk about nerves coming up to Atlanta this week, it's a completely different mindset. It's super speedway racing on a small scale,
Yeah.
and it's I tell you, I'm not excited with the way that the cars handle here as far as how they deal with the draft on turn entry. A lot of guys are going to be pushing aero tight and washing up
Yep.
the track, which is going to be something you're going to have to look out for, especially since the high line is the fast line. So you're going to be the guy they run into first. So I think this week it's going to be really interesting to see how we can maintain our mental fortitude and struggle through what'll probably be a pretty demanding race on the mental side of it. Not so much physically. It's it's wide open throttle 90% of the time and whatnot. But as far as that mental aspect, I think that's going to be the tough thing we have to face this week.
Yeah, I think you're right. Going to Atlanta, you have a super speedway that's typical, high speed, have to have really fast reaction time, but you're you know, enhancing all, or not enhancing, but multiplying all of that with this shorter track. And, you're talking speeds, what, 190 plus in the draft on the backstretch, stuff like
Yeah.
your reaction time has to be on point going down into like turn three. And like you said, these guys are going to be, three wide for sure towards the end of that race. But, typical super speedway, it's going to be about avoiding wrecks. And the nice thing about Daytona and Talladega is there's a lot of room to move around, and yet there's still a lot of cautions. So you take, super speedway and shorten the real estate, and it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I think the other thing too that really affects Atlanta is unlike Daytona and Talladega because of that space, it's a little bit easier to maneuver around a vehicle and pass. I don't really find you have that opportunity nearly as much at Atlanta. So guys that are guys that are behind the leaders a few rows, there's nowhere to go. And so a bit of desperation sets in. And one thing that we always talk about when we're doing super speedway racing is don't push the pusher, right? So
Yeah.
if the guy ahead of you is pushing the guy ahead of him, then don't get in his bumper. Otherwise, you're causing a mess. Pretty near guaranteed. Not always, but enough that it's a pretty widely used statement. And I don't think that we're going to have a lot of patience at this track this week. Anyone who's back in the pack realizes that they got to take every opportunity. So when that guy washes up, they're going to poke their nose there. When there's a short little a run, they're not going to bother letting off the gas before they get to the guy in front of them to make sure that there's not a double impact. I just really think that desperation and a lack of patience is really going to tell the tale at Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree 100% everything you said. It's going to be very interesting to see how this week plays out. I feel like we have a really good setup. Jordan again did a really good job with it. The qualifying setup on point. I'm running really good times in the qualifying setup. Feels really good, and I'm excited to see how this week plays out. I think there's opportunity here for sure with the setup that we have, but typical super speedway, you can't get your hopes up because as we found at Daytona and Talladega in the past, anything can happen.
Yeah, every track has an element of luck as far as, you have to avoid the bad and seize every little bit of good that you got. But when it comes to super speedway races, sorry, that bad luck element is such a level of elevated that it's one of the key things that you have to do is just avoid bad luck. You kind of gotta. It's one of those read the room moments, right? You kind of got to watch around you and see who's putting everybody else in danger. And if you're in a position where you're within that range of danger should things go wrong, you gotta figure a way to get out of there, whether it's drop back or get past the guy really quickly or whatever. But I think Atlanta's one of those places where you've got to do everything you can to get rid of the bad luck option.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's these speedways are for the most part, pure luck. There's an extent of skill to it, just in some, strategy, staying to the back or staying up front, or for the most part, the super speedways, the worst place to be is in the middle. So picking one or the other and staying there, especially at Atlanta where you have, that high line. If you're not on the high line and you don't have somebody good to push you, it's gonna be really hard to stay up front in the bottom line.
Yeah, I think this week the most important part of the race is actually qualifying in many ways. Once if you don't qualify at the front, it changes everything for how your race has to be run.
Yeah,
So I think the greatest thing we can do this week is, like you said, we have a great qualifying setup. So to make sure that we capitalize on that opportunity and get a really good qualifying position, it puts us in a much better place for the race. So I think that's what we're all kind of focusing on this week, is getting qualifying very, very well. And then chances are most of us will probably try to move up to the high line. That seems to be where the speed is this week, or at least that's what I'm feeling where
yeah.
I'm racing anyway. I don't know
Well,
about
so
everyone else.
far, and it seems like it's easier to hold the line up there. Worst case scenario, you wash up a little bit and you head towards the wall. Hopefully, you stay off of it. But worst case scenario, you're in the wall and hopefully nobody hits you in the back. But um, it's going to be one of those deals where there's going to be a lot of checkups, and like you said, it's going to be hard passing. So when those checkups happen, everybody's going to try to make the most of it. So when these wrecks are going to happen, you're not going to see people lifting like they should be. You're going to see people driving it in there, trying to either slip under them or slip above them, and make the most of the wreck. And it's just going to make a bad situation worse, unfortunately.
Yeah, this will be a week that tells the tale about where the luck resides with us. I mean, if you look at the schedule coming up, this is the one track where the element of luck is a little bit or a lot higher than everywhere else. But coming up, we've got a pretty wide range of tracks, so I feel like we've got a really good opportunity here over the next few weeks to showcase our versatility. We go from Atlanta to is it Richmond after that? So we
Coda.
got a short track. Is it
Coda,
Coda
right?
right after that? Okay, I knew Coda was on the list, but so we got Coda right around the corner, which is a road course. We've got I
Richmond.
do believe Richmond is right around the
Yep.
corner, so we got a short track after that. Just came off a mile track, a pretty flat mile track for that matter. So I think this is a really good opportunity for us to show early in the season that, hey man, we can go anywhere and run really, really well. Hopefully we get wins everywhere. I
Yeah.
believe that we've got the setups. It's just taking those setups and turn them into wins sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think we'll have, a pretty good week here at Atlanta. who knows exactly where we'll place. I can see us getting a couple wins, and I can see us getting some top fives. It'll be one or the other. Um, Regardless, I see us at least getting the top fives. Coda,
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to have at least a win or two there, unless we have a really off week, which I don't see happening. Setup wise, I know we won't. It's just going to be a matter of us drivers. But um, going into Richmond, we've been really good at Richmond the last year, and both of them, spring and fall, we did well, or spring and
Yes.
summer, however you want to view it. Um, and we've had really good setups at Richmond. We'll have a really good setup this year, I'm sure. That's a track I really look forward to, and I'm actually looking forward to the Bristol Dirt too. At some point, I think that's early April, right? Second week of April, something like that. But that's
I
coming
believe
up as
so.
well.
Yeah.
Um, so
I wasn't able to do Bristol Dirt last year. I'm looking forward to doing it.
yeah, it's difficult. These cup cars really aren't made for it, but it's a change, and it's unique. So I look forward to it. I like racing on dirt. So we'll see how that goes too.
Yeah. So listen, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of ready to talk to Nick. I'm all excited about how we're proceeding here. I want to talk to Nick. You ready to talk to Nick?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to have him come say some stuff. So right now we'll take a short ad break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to our guest, Nick Crawford.
All right. Revline Racing's official podcast is brought to you by the following: Resurgence Apparel. Go to theresurgenceapparel.com for all of your apparel needs. Partnered with Champion Clothing, Casemate phone cases, and FlexFit hats. Before the Green and After the Checkers podcast. Found on all major podcast platforms. Kyle Tate voiceover and narration. For the ultimate source in turning your audiobook dreams into reality. Jerky Pro, the go-to snack choice for gamers and athletes. AIM Supplements. Aim above ordinary standards with simple, safe, high-quality nutrition products. Player One Coffee. Every bag roasted to order for maximum refreshness. Ma Energy. Get simple energy made just for you. Rex Pair, the ultimate tire puncture repair kit.
On.
Well, welcome back after the break. Just want to introduce you, first of all, to one of the newest members of Revline Racing. Mr. Nick Crawford has been on the service since March the 17th of 2011, so pretty much 12 years to the day. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but you predominantly run league races. Right now, I think you're focused on the ISRC Truck race, and then some shorter series races here and there, if I'm not wrong.
Hi, glad to be here. Yeah, right now I've been running in league races and just pretty much anything I can. Uh, Mostly the Carb Cup and the Truck Series, just because they're shorter races and there's not a lot of commitment with those.
That's fair, yeah. I heard you had a pretty big week in ISRC this week, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got some redemption here. Um, Last at Road America, it was one of the earlier races in the season. I disconnected right after halfway while I was leading, definitely on the way to the win. And then we came out to Fuji and on a road course nobody knew, and I was able to pull it off and beat Trenton, who's the road course master in that league. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, so going back to you coming over to Revline, you've been here a week now, I believe, or a little longer. What's your experience been like so far? What have you liked? What have you disliked? Anything you want to see change? Anything you're excited about?
Yeah, when I came over here, it's definitely a new experience for me. I've never really been on this official of a team. I've been on teams before, like Category 5, and that ranges from at one point they did Road to Pro, and then they also do the endurance races. So I don't get to see a lot of the team aspect because, again, of the participation, races like those take a lot of time, and especially Road to Pro. But coming over here to Revline and just seeing even the way the team chat is organized, sponsors are a new thing that I've never really been a part of. I've always seen. It's really cool to see Champion available. I love that brand as a kid. I love it now. So, and it looks like a good paint scheme too. But honestly, the organization and just all the positivity in the comments and all the setup building and the camaraderie is really cool to see. So it's a new experience to me, not really much to compare it to, but it seems like it's going to go really well here, especially having Christopher Norris come over with me, or I guess I came over with him. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so could you give us a little feedback on, or an insight on that relationship with Christopher Norris? Like when did you guys, meet up in iRacing? Was it through the league or um, some previous matter?
It was through the league when I first joined ISRC. Me and Cedric, which is also a Category 5 member, we both came over, and I believe Norris was looking for a team. So it was me, Cedric, Brandon Colley, and then Christopher Norris, all on a team I never thought would exist. I didn't even know Christopher Norris at all before joining ISRC. So, and it was, it went from there, I guess is all I could really say. It was really fun. We had a blast, and it's still the same. We're always having fun during the race or outside, and whether it's in practice or other video games. And he's become a part of our group now over at Category 5's Discord. But yeah, I didn't know him until probably towards the end of last year, and now he's like, I call him my son jokingly in the league, uh, just to, I don't know,
Well,
it's a hilarious thing.
well,
Sorry.
it sounds like you guys have a great friendship, and it's pretty interesting that you guys were able to. I mean, like all of us here in Revline, you were able to tame that through, this simulator.
Oh yeah, the iRacing has brought a lot to me in life. I don't know if you know this story, but Brian Johnson was the best man at my wedding, and we met on iRacing on a league way back in the day called Freaky Fast Racing League, which is now turned into a broadcast. So iRacing brought him to me as well, and he ended up being the best man at my wedding.
That's awesome. So there's a few things in the future that Revline's doing. We're doing an all-star race here this spring, early summer. Is that something that you are looking forward to, or have you not heard about it, or is there anything in the future that Revline has in the works that you're excited for?
I think I saw a little tiny mention of it. Like I said, I still am working my way around the team Discord and looking at things, but I don't know too much about the All-Star race if you wanted to share some information on that. But yeah, I'm just still searching around the Discord finding things.
Yeah,
There's
so
lots in there, to be fair. I mean,
there is, there
you
is,
can do a lot of digging.
yes. So the All Star race, it's going to be the same week as the NASCAR Cup All Star race. Right now we're looking at scheduling it for Friday night or maybe Monday night. Depends on how it falls. The league should be over by then. I'm not sure how soon the next season is going to start for that, but hopefully there'll be enough gap to where we can put it in on Monday night if it's available. Um, but the All Star race will be for strictly Revline members, Revline drivers. It'll be at North Wilkesboro, just like the All Star race. I would like to do the same amount of laps. It just depends on how many that is. If not, it'll be half as many laps. Um, and then whoever wins it will get $100.
Oh heck yeah! I'll definitely do that. That sounds fun. I'm I don't know about Wilkes, but $100 does sound nice. And depending on the car, I'm guessing it'll be the Cup car.
Yes.
But yeah, that sounds like fun. I definitely do it.
I mean, look at it this way: as a Canadian, that's like $140.
Yeah, that's a good thing I'm not Canadian. Don't have to worry about that exchange rate or anything.
Oh, it's positive when it comes this way. It's when you send it the other way that it gets
Oh,
less. Oh yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to the Fuji win at the ISRC Truck Series, what a spectacular race! Halfway through the race when we did our pit cycle, Jump came out and on top there for a little while. What was going through your head those laps? Were you thinking just be patient, you'll get it back, or were you nervous at all? What was those last 15, 20 laps like?
So to start, actually, we have to go to the beginning. The goal was to be fastest overall, kind of like Road America, just be way faster and no way anybody could challenge. But Jump and Danny, they were really fast in practice, and I don't know if Danny messed up on his lap in qualifying, but Jump ended up taking the pole, I believe. So at that point, I knew he was going to be really fast, but I know Trenton Jump is known for burning up his stuff early. He does it a lot when there's a stage, but there's no caution to save him for this race. So at that point, when I knew he was fast off the bat, I just wanted to stay close enough because he was already sliding out the rear tires a lot, and just it seemed like he was making a lot of mistakes. But like he said in his interview yesterday, there's not a lot of passing opportunities at that track. So then that's where the pit road cycle comes in. Uh, I think Mark pit on lap 19 coming to 20, and he wasn't really close enough for that to matter. But I wanted to pit the next lap, and I was hoping that Trenton was going to stay out, and he did. So that gave me a lap to make up some time because I think that was the only way I was going to pass him. So then I passed him, but with lap traffic, he caught back up, and I started making some mistakes too on the colder tires. So then he made the pass on me down the straightaway. And after that, it was kind of the same thing. Just follow him, be close enough for when he makes a mistake, and luckily he did. And at that point, I was able to save my tires a little bit more and not drive away, but keep enough of a gap for him not to get to the rear bumper. I don't know if he was going to use it again, the front bumpers, but uh, I was prepared for it. But it was really just about waiting for the mistake, and luckily it did happen.
Right. And so when I let you guys by and was following you around there for, that lap or two, whatever it was I was amazed at just how much speed you guys were carrying in sections where I was not even remotely close to being able to do that. It really showed the skill gap. I'm not very great on road courses by any means, but it was really cool to see that.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I am better at road courses. I think it has to do with the way I enter corners. Even on ovals, I always enter the corners a lot harder than everybody else, and that doesn't work on the ovals because you're burning the right front, especially with the current aero packages. But on road courses, that can be beneficial because most of the time people are burning up the rear tires. But if you can get in and make up a lot of time under braking, and then also just hitting the corner in a way that you can carry a lot of speed, there was that downhill right-hander where you had to jump the curve just right, and you could just gain so much speed on people. That's where I gained a lot on Trenton, but it it really just comes down to practice, knowing braking zones. I use that feature that iRacing just added, the active reset, and I just ran a lap, reset, ran a lap, reset, sometimes getting up to 50 laps in one session on a road course. And it's just one of the styles of racing that I am strong at, so I like to emphasize that.
Yeah, well, you showed it last night. You got that champion truck in victory lane. It was awesome to see it. Looked really good. Anything else that you're taking away from that and excited about?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first race with the paint scheme too, so that's great. And then Norris pointed out that it was my first race back in a Ford. I'm usually a Chevy guy, but I guess the Ford's good to me this season. But just hoping that I can transfer that skills those skills to oval racing at this point, because I think we got one more road course and that's about it. And I don't think there's really any other major wild cards like plate tracks or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, we have one more road course, Daytona road course, and it's pretty much just ovals after that, right?
I think so. I would have to look at
Yeah.
the schedule, but yeah,
That's
just
and that under that subject of oval racing, that's one area I think we've really excelled at on this team. We've really been able to develop a lot of guys and help them progress through the oval series, and we have enough people here that they can bounce different ideas off of you and give you some pointers that you might not have thought of before.
And
oh definitely.
likewise, we're really looking forward to the fact that we have a guy who's been quite successful with the road course racing and stock cars and things like that. That can perhaps give some of our guys pointers too, right? We got some guys that run really well on road course races, and do quite well week in and week out when we have those. Even guys that do well on ovals, but it's always nice when you have more experience and more talent at a particular type of race that we do, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like earlier in the week, I streamed a little lap of mine, my fastest lap at Fuji, and I just put it in the chat, be like, here, take this. It has all the throttle and braking inputs and the gears. I don't think it had the gears, but yeah, I'm very willing to just share information. I don't really keep it a secret.
And I think
Nothing
that's
wrong with that.
the beauty behind this organization. I mean, just the willingness behind every single one of our members and drivers. We're all very willing to help each other and progress. And that's what's so nice is that we wouldn't have this organization without everybody that's like that. So it's really cool to see that mentality, especially from newer members, and to see that already playing out is awesome. So going back to Port Royal in the Truck Series, what were you
Oh
thinking in
no.
Port Royal? That was something.
So before the race, new information came out that I'd never thought of because for some reason in my head I had it that it was a 90 lap dirt race and that was it. Because in my past experience, you could not refuel the car in dirt races. I don't know if that's different at other tracks. I've heard at Eldora or some other track you can refuel, but um, it was found out that you could not refuel at Port Royal, and the race, I believe, was 150 laps. I think you
Yeah.
could make it on fuel if it went green, like 96 laps. I think that's what I was at. So once that was discovered, it's tough because you want to tell everybody. Like I wanted to tell the admins, but then you're like, it's 5 minutes before the session.
Well,
Or I think actually we were in the session is when I found out.
yeah. Well, you almost want to use it to your advantage, though, too, right?
Yeah, you
It's
want it as an advantage, anything you can get, especially at a dirt track. I'm not good at dirt racing at all. If I win, it's by luck.
and that was the funny thing going into Port Royal. I mean, Port Royal's such a tricky track. I mean, you're talking one groove. That's all you got. And it's against the wall, and the
Yep.
only way to pass is to slide job the guy that you're trying to get by, and then
Yeah.
protect against those slide jobs too. And so that makes it really hard to avoid any form of contact, especially with the wall while you're doing those slide jobs.
Yeah.
And
And it's dirt racing, so it's kind of expected to like door bang and push each
right,
other around.
right. And as you talked about, kind of like when your natural skills on the service is your road course, I definitely would lean towards dirt as being mine. And it's funny because I don't race dirt whatsoever, but for whatever reason, when I get on a dirt track, I can usually figure it out pretty quick and do well.
That natural instinct from a past life.
It must be.
That's what I think the road course is from for me. I was some Italian Ferrari driver back in the day or something. But yeah, Port Royal was tough. It's just, you know, actually, just hoping that nobody found out. But I think a few laps into it, somebody's like, "Hey, can we make it on fuel?" And that's where it started. And then it worked out in my benefit because I didn't have to go hard. I could just run the bottom and save fuel as much as I could. But going 2 laps down early really didn't help. And then with all the cautions, everybody ended up being okay on fuel and making it. And then the wall riding was another story that I was a little salty about, but
Yeah, that was
it's
so
there.
that was a tough one for me because going into the week practicing, I do not like wall riding. I don't feel like that puts on a good show for viewers. So my focus going into the week was to stay off the wall as much as possible, even though it was obviously slower, and just make really nice clean laps and make it look good. So when we went in it, and it was, I mean, let's be honest, these guys were riding the wall way harder than they probably should have been. Quite a few of them. It was different, and then to try to be able to slide job guys when they're doing that,
You
especially these
couldn't.
guys that are, significantly slower than you, they're just using the wall to their advantage and you're not. That gets pretty frustrating in a hurry.
Yeah, and it's a tough deal because it's always going to be a judgment call. You have so many factors involved. One of them even being two of the admins are on West Coast, like me. So somebody tapping the wall or not even touching it can look like wall riding to someone on the West Coast if the other person's on the East Coast. I've always noticed that, but there's that, and it's like, were they on the wall on purpose? Was it by accident because the track is slick? And then they were doing some silly stuff like saying, I can't even see the wall. I was like, I was in towards the back with dirt all over my windshield and I could see the wall, but that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're always going to find an excuse, right? But
And that's what you
regardless,
do.
right. And regardless, I mean, for the most part, I mean, it was a successful night, I guess. I mean, caution field, I didn't make it very far, unfortunately. I was running pretty good though. Um, Running seventh when I got wrecked out, but um, all in all, Port Royal was interesting.
Yep, not looking forward to dirt races in the truck. Maybe some other cars or maybe a shorter race and a different track. I think I forgot who was suggesting. I think Eric Stamp suggested it. The track that doesn't have outside walls. I forgot what the name was.
Yeah, it's
Maybe that's
also a
one that we should
Pennsylvania
go to.
track.
Yeah, that one will get rid of the wall riding and then just shorten the race. And I think that would be fine. Or put in the heats, I think, as another option
Yeah,
that real
heats.
life does.
I would definitely like to see heats. I My thing would be if I was going to make suggestions, if you're going to pick a dirt track, you have to pick a dirt track that you can race late models onto. And just because of the length of the vehicle, when we went to Port Royal, I mean, granted it's a fairly good sized track, but you don't really see a lot of late model races on Port Royal. It's mostly sprint cars.
I was gonna say with the long straightaways, it makes sense in my head for the sprint cars, but then again, I don't know a lot about dirt racing.
Yeah, yeah. From my experience with that track, it's pretty much sprint cars.
Okay,
Some
yeah,
they do race modifieds, 358 modifieds, and those are fun. But again, those are a shorter length vehicle. So,
yeah.
um, going back into Revline some, um, do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about from that side?
Um, Man, the only thing is I wish I could participate more, but being on the West Coast really does hinder it a lot for me. Just with the timing and I have like a 9 to 5 job, so I wish I could be there more. But I do watch, I do try to like like yesterday while you guys were practicing in Atlanta, I jumped and spectated a little bit for like the last 5 laps just for fun, just to see what Norris was up to.
Right.
But it's just gonna take some time for me to get familiar with everyone and kind of just warm up to everyone. Just that's just how I am. I'm really pretty shy at first, but then after a little bit, we're making jokes and having fun.
Yep. Yeah, we do like to have a lot of fun here. The nice thing is we have quite a few new guys coming on all at the same time, so everybody's kind of in the same position you are as far as the new aspect.
Nice.
Evan, do you have anything else for Nick?
Not particularly, but it is nice to have you around, Nick. I've been enjoying the small interactions that we have had. I know the West Coast does definitely present some issues since most of us are predominantly East Coast. But it's great to have you here, and we're really looking forward to working with you and growing as a unit. Same as all the drivers that we have. We always want to grow with everybody and have everybody grow with us. And It's really exciting that we have another guy who is really talented on road course racing, especially to help grow that side of things for us and help us all learn and develop. But no, I'm just really excited to have you here. Is what it really comes down to.
Just like me yesterday, excited and sweaty, I guess was the quote from me. I forgot. But yeah, I really am excited to be here and just kind of learn and see what this whole like official esports team is like, you know. You guys have such cool merchandise and interactions. Like those shirts that you guys have, the jerseys look really cool, and maybe one day I'll request one. But they do look cool. It looks fun, and this is just really exciting new experience to me. So I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on.
Yeah,
I'm so glad to
absolutely.
have you.
And like Evan was saying, we're ecstatic to have you on board. Really awesome that we were able to get you and Chris to come over. We were debating, for a little while, who we would grab, and your name and Chris's name were the most mentioned, and along with Danny's. But so when we reached out to Chris, we already had you in mind. We just didn't know how we were going to go about the conversation, and Chris kind of did it for us.
You
And
can't split
included
up the
you.
father-son combo.
No, and that's honestly exactly how we wanted it to play out. So yeah, we're really glad you're here. We're looking forward to all the great stuff we have going forward. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we let you go?
No, that's about it. I just, again, thank you guys for letting me join. And even, I'm pretty new to this and can't come to every NIS race, but I definitely, I am loyal to a brand, to a team. I'll definitely represent. I'll definitely make sure to shout you guys' name out every time I'm interviewed. I love getting interviewed, whether it's first, second, or spotlight drivers. So I definitely like to talk about it. So uh, we'll see how this goes.
Well,
Awesome.
one thing I will say to you, Nick, before we do let you go is, don't ever let Ryan lie to you and tell you he let you go again.
Okay.
He said he let you go earlier, and I almost called him out, but don't ever let him lie to you again.
That would.
I'll never make a teammate do anything. I'm not for team orders, but I mean on plate tracks. But yeah, I'll never ask a teammate to really do anything if they don't want to. But I appreciate you letting me go. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that one would be pretty hard to mistake otherwise. Well, anyway, thanks Nick for coming in, joining the very first episode of Revline. We appreciate you. Hopefully, we'll have you on some other time.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
You too, Nick. Well, that was a great conversation with our one of our newest team members, Nick Crawford, and it was really great to have him here for our first episode together. We're really glad to have you here for our first episode together. We've had a great week in Phoenix. We're really looking forward to what we're going to achieve here in Atlanta this week. And we're just really glad to have you here. We hope that you'll come back again next week, and we look forward to having you listen with us all along as we grow as a team and as we grow as friends and racers and all of that good stuff as well. Thank you for listening to Revline Racing's official podcast. Tune in next week for the next episode.